Today, we have a special episode highlighting the incredible efforts of the South Florida Wildlife Center. Joining us is a passionate wildlife advocate and dedicated volunteer at the center, Millie Otero. Millie has a zookeeping background and started with the center in 2021 and has moved into the Homecare Heroes program to assist the center in rehabilitating young animals in need. Stay tuned to learn more about the South Florida Wildlife Center and the Homecare Heroes program.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been volunteering with the Homecare Heroes program?
My name is Millie Otero, and I've been volunteering with the Homecare Heroes since 2022, I believe. I think I started in early May of last year. Yeah.
Perfect. And what inspired you to get involved with that particular program at the South Florida Wildlife Center?
So I started interning in the summer of 2021 for the Wildlife Rehabilitation Release Program. When I started volunteering there, I loved it. I spent 3 months there, but as I said, I wanted to originally work with the nursery and more of the younger animals and everything, but I didn't get a chance to because they were full, which was fine because I still had learned a lot from the rehabilitation and release program. But after that, I think in May or it was June or something, because I had applied before, but I know it takes a bit to go in. So then I realized, that's when I started researching for more of volunteer positions because I wanted to do something with the wildlife again. And I found out about the Homecare Heroes program. I thought I'd be a great fit. And so I did the training, which was really only 2 days. So super quick. And I loved it. It's really great.
I love to hear that it's super quick because it's my understanding as a typical website user, when you go to the website, because it talks about 24/7 care of the animal, it feels a little bit am I going to be around the clock taking care of this animal? Because most people don't have that kind of schedule available unless they're retired. So I'd love for you to tell us about that experience. You're telling us about the training, but once you went home with the animal, what did that look like? Because I'm sure you have a full-time job and other things in your life.
So what I think is really great about it, because it makes it a lot easier for really just anybody with less flexible schedules to take care of them, is you don't have to feed them throughout the night. I do work with exotics. I'm a zookeeper. So a lot of times if we have those baby animals, we have to feed them every 2 hours through the night. And that is exhausting. But with the wildlife, it's really great because you just have to feed them right before you go to bed and right when you wake up. And then, so that's already 2 feedings a day. And usually they only need 5 or 6, depending on the size. So if you just fit 3 more feedings in, they say, every 3 to 4 to 5 hours, depending on the size of the animal. But really, it's a lot more flexible than that. It's kind of as long as you can fit them far enough apart within the day, then it's just, if you can do that many times of feeding a day, it's really just whenever. So, I'd wake up, go to work or whatever, come back for lunch break, I'd feed them, go back to work, come back from work, feed them, go out, do whatever, come back from that, feed them, get ready for bed, do whatever I want to do, and then feed them right before bed.
And do you have any domesticated pets like cats or dogs?
I have 2 dogs. I don't, really let them interact because I keep them upstairs, but I don't think it would be too much of a problem. The other great thing is they provide you with the incubator and everything you need to keep them in. So, you'll take them out to handle them and to feed them and to clean them. And, you can play with them. And especially with the possums, they're a lot more awake than the squirrels. So they do like to explore their surroundings and stuff. But most of the time they are just kept in the incubator, which is a small, 1-foot box. It's really good for smaller spaces because they just stay in there for the majority of the time. And if you're really busy, you can just keep them in there too.
That's awesome. So were those the 2 species that you did in the home care program?
Yeah, I did the gray squirrel and Virginia opossum.
In terms of someone considering doing this, they'll listen to you and they'll say, okay, that sounds great. I don't need to be up all night, whatnot. But what were some challenges that you experienced? And if you didn't, because I think you have experience as a zookeeper, so that's a little different. And you have pets, which is why I asked you that question. Yeah. So it's check. But for someone who has no pets and is not a zookeeper, do you think that there would be any challenges that they might come into?
I think the training really prepares you well for it. And the people training you also get to see what kind of level of experience you have. So, for example, squirrels are a lot easier because they just get fed with a syringe and they'll grab onto the syringe and just, drink themselves. With the possums, it is a bit more complicated because with the training process, you have to you have to gavage feed them. So it's kind of a lot harder to make sure they don't aspirate and stuff like that. It's also, a bit more squeamish if people don't like that medical aspect. But the squirrels are super easy and, they're more beginner friendly. One challenge with them, though, is since they are wildlife, they are orphaned, there's the chance that some of them don't make it, I have fostered a ton of possums, a ton of squirrels. I've only had, I think, 2 or 3 pass away on me. So, most of the time their chances are very high. If the clinic sees that their chances of survival aren't high enough, they will go with the clinic staff. And another great thing is if you ever see a problem with them that you notice, you can instantly bring them back to the clinic and they'll take care of the possum from there. But it is, a risk that is kind of heartbreaking when it comes to fostering,
right?
Because, some of these possums come in with medications and you don't know how long they've been out there. So, of course, there's a chance that they don't make it, but I'm still lucky to give them whatever chance I can give them.
Absolutely. I think that's the sort of the downside of animals in general, that you get attached to them,
Yeah.
And then there's an end. And sometimes if it's too early, obviously it's heartbreaking because they're so cute.
Exactly.
In terms of like the part for you specifically, because you're with animals day in, day out, what do you feel is like the most rewarding part of doing the program?
I think seeing them grow up, because they grow so quick. Like I promise you, you'll probably have, whatever babies you have for a period of a week or 2 weeks.
Okay.
And the difference of how they are when they come to you and when you give them back, even though it's only 20 grams, like the squirrels come to you hairless and then they leave all nice and fluffy and active and fat. The possums, most of the time when they come to you, they look like really weak and tired because they've been left out. And then when you give them back, they're like scrambling about and playing with each other. And it's also just so rewarding, like seeing them, it's not the ones you've raised, but just seeing them in the wild and being like, I helped do that. I helped save that. And it makes you more comfortable with just all the wildlife around you. It's like now if I see a possum on the side of the road, which is something that a lot of people don't think about, but if I see them on the side of the road, I always stop and I check inside the pouch, because a lot of these possums that come to us, people have found them inside their dead mothers. So it makes you so much more aware of like your surroundings and how we're really coexisting with all these other species and not living separate or side by side. We're living with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to imagine that through the different possums and squirrels that they come in with a name, or maybe you give them a name. Are there any that stand out to you, like Bobby over here, or whoever? Is there one?
There are. So it's really interesting. That's another interesting thing that just makes you think about kind of like every being around you, to every bug, that every single one of these possums and squirrels all have different personalities. Like if you pay close enough attention to them, you'll see this one's more active. This one likes to be with his brothers and sisters. This one's a little bit of a loner, and they're really all different in their ways. So I remember I had one squirrel. Most of the squirrels we get, because they come with their eyes closed, so they just kind of lay there and they act like newborns. But I remember this one squirrel I named him Hammy, and he was like running around in circles just blindly in his incubator, and he was the most active one. Like he would be slipping out of my hands. He was crazy. I know he's probably gave them a handful in the nursery once, because after I get them, then they go back to the nursery to continue being raised. And when they get bigger, they get, more of a handful.
Well, sure. Yeah. The idea is, like you said, to get them back in the wild and get them thriving and whatnot. In terms of like someone considering, volunteering with the Wildlife Center and going through the process, how, or I guess why would you encourage looking at it from because I think it's what you said, that most people don't think, not because they don't care. I think most people care.
Yeah, it's just not in front of you all the time.
That's right. So talk to me about that, like what the Wildlife Center means, because obviously you work in the field too.
Yeah.
So why should people get involved?
The Wildlife Center, this is one of, it's the closest one that I know in my area. So anytime that I'm working with anyone and they say they find an injured bird, an orphan squirrel, an orphan possum, whatever, I always send them right there. There's really not any other place that would accept injured or orphaned wildlife around. Because I do remember this, the first time I heard about the Wildlife Center actually was because I found a white ibis that it was kind of like dunking its head in the water and it couldn't get out of the water. So, I caught it, it couldn't fly away. It ended up having botulism. But that entire day that I had it, I was running around like to vets and, calling around exotic places and like duck rescues, just trying to see who would take him and who would help me. And like, I really felt helpless, like I didn't know if I had to find someone to euthanize him or anything, but any domestic vet, they're like, it's illegal for them to treat them. So there's nothing you can do. It's like really a helpless feeling. But I ended up calling the Wildlife Center in the morning and I dropped him off. And I think a week later, I emailed to follow up and they had released him. He had done a lot better. He recovered great because botulism, it is a really simple fix. But if nobody takes him to get fixed, it's like you're their only chance. It might not make a difference in the whole ecosystem or community, but the way it makes a difference to the single animal's life, it changes their world. So I like to be that difference. And I feel like more people should be encouraged to be that difference in those animals' world. If you see someone in danger, it's the same as an animal. If you see an animal in danger, summone in need of help and cross the road, I'd hope that people see them as beings and help them do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Wildlife Center is it's such a big part in that because it's like one of the biggest animal hospitals that takes anything and everything for no price because it is. And that's another reason the public's role is so important because they need these volunteers and they need these foster care people because they're a nonprofit.
Exactly.
So they need these resources and it really just helps the community give back to itself.
Awesome. Well, Millie, you are like the perfect testimonial, the perfect volunteer in every way, because I think obviously you speak from the heart. I didn't know that you worked at a zoo, which I think it's great. I'm trying to get different people with different life experiences, right? So that the people who are listening can buy in, really.
Yeah.
And I think like what you said, it's about the awareness, really. It's about the awareness that like if you see an animal in need of help, I think back to even like 2005, I used to have a store up in Deerfield Beach and I pulled up. I don't remember if it might have been a hawk. I can't remember what kind of a bird it was, but he was injured. I did a similar story to you. I'm like calling, going to vets, and at that time I learned that they don't take care of it. And I'm going, what? And I called Broward County and they were like, no, it's like, is it a dog or a cat? Like, or no, it's like, wow. So when I started to work with the Wildlife Center, I was just like blown away, like how robust their operation is, like their staff, the vets, the techs,
I was shocked with that too. I remember when I started interning there, because it's really nobody else sees the wildlife as beings like this, because most of the time, especially in a lot of vet places, just with the money and the care that's involved, they see, okay, well, this animal's not worth anything money-wise, just euthanize it. It's, better save our time. But I saw them, there was a tortoise that got hit by a car and I was in a car accident myself, and they literally were doing the same thing that they did to my bones to the tortoise's shell. You see, because I needed like screws and a plate, and they did that to the tortoise's shell. They were like, and I was in awe with how much care goes into each animal's rehabilitation to make sure that they're able to come back.
And their nutrition and all the stuff that they do, I was like, wow, just blown away at the level of care.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, having, of course, the volunteers give their testimonial and share it with the community, I think will be a big, super, super big help. Not only what you did for them, but this part of it too. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
I think that's the other thing. A lot of people don't know how easy it is. I've been encouraging some of my friends and, like animal lovers that I know to do it. And I'm like, you just, you sign up, you give them like a quick questionnaire. And then you go and you do the training, and it's like you see what you can handle. And especially since they're newborns, you just have to feed them. They don't need too much else.
Right. That's
It's not
awesome.
like a dog you need to walk a bunch of times, or you don't need to, like, again, since I'm a zookeeper, I've had to raise baby monkeys, and those guys, like, they're everywhere.
Ooh.
They're not newborns. They jump around. They're like toddlers that can reach the ceilings.
We hope you've gained a deeper appreciation for the remarkable work of the South Florida Wildlife Center and the dedicated volunteers like Millie Otero. If you're inspired to make a difference in the lives of our local wildlife, we encourage you to become a Homecare Hero through the South Florida Wildlife Center's incredible program. The Homecare Heroes program allows you to play a vital role in rehabilitating injured and orphaned animals right from the comfort of your own home. By fostering these creatures during their recovery, you're providing the care and attention they need to thrive before they are released back into the wild. To become a Homecare Hero and learn more about this rewarding opportunity, visit the South Florida Wildlife Center's website at www.southfloridawildlifecenter.org/homecareheroes. There, you'll find all the information you need to get involved and make a lasting impact. Thank you once again for joining us on this exploration into the heart of wildlife rescue and rehabilitation.